Hello everybody and good evening. Welcome to a new show called The Coaches Point of View, where managers will discuss some of the main news in women's football from the last 7 to 10 days. And as you can see, we're really lucky tonight, our first ever episode, and we've bagged ourselves 3 National League managers whose teams are actually going to be playing in the FA Cup this weekend. So we'll start with Brighouse manager Rob Mitchell. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, very good. Very good. Nice to have you on. We've got the Wolves manager, Dan McNamara. How are you doing, Dan?
You're doing all right.
Good, good. And finally, we've got Crawley Wasps manager, Dave Cole. How are you doing, Dave? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, Ray. Thanks for having me.
Great. I mean, look, we all think of National League players as either amateurs or maybe semi-professionals, but we sometimes forget that you managers at this level, you all have full-time jobs as well, and you're busy lives, and you're giving up time on a Friday evening on a bank holiday to have a chat with us. So we're really grateful for you guys joining us. The nature of this show is really just to look back at the last 7 to maybe 10 days, because it's our first one, and to look at the big stories in women's football, especially affecting leagues below the Championship. We'll look at if there are big enough stories above that, but for the first episode, we want to focus on the National League and the FA Cup teams. And I think next week, if we're doing a show again, it'll be a similar sort of thing, National League, that playing in the FA Cup. We're going to start off on Monday. Most teams came back to training. It's something I guess you've missed for months and months and months with the lockdowns and the COVID situation we've had. So just let you guys have a chat. I mean, I'll start with Rob. What's the return to training been like, and how good is it to be back training?
Of course, it's brilliant to be back. We went in on Monday. We got on the 3G for an hour and a half. Just let them have a little bit of a blowout. I wouldn't say that there wasn't any structure to it. It was more getting the ball rolling again and getting them playing football. And then we looked towards, then we trained on Wednesday. And again, we did a little bit of an in-house game. So we turned it into a bit of a friendly with some on-field coaching, things like that. Just working on a little bit of shape ahead of the game. But I think the girls, although they've been away for 3 months or so, they're very familiar and aware of the system that we play and how we want to play it. So instead of going into too much detail on that, we focus more on fitness aspect and getting the ball down and playing, because I feel that obviously football fitness is very different to just road running all the time. And you could tell that when they got on there as well. Some were blowing, some were struggling, but we got through it, and hopefully we've done enough now to go into Sunday's game and give a good account of ourselves despite a really short period. I don't think this kind of situation would have happened in many other sports where we're going from a week straight into competitive action. It is what it is. We're just happy to be taking part in competitive games again, and hopefully we can continue to do that over the next few weeks. But obviously we've got to get through this game first.
Yeah. Do you look at it, Rob, and say everybody else is in the same boat, so we're no better or worse off than pretty much all the other clubs?
Yeah, I mean, we had BBC Look North come to our training session on Wednesday, and they asked the same question, and I just said that Newcastle are in the same boat as us, so it is a level playing field in those regards. But at the same time, it's still not ideal, but we've just got to deal with the situation the best we can and give the best account of ourselves. And I'm sure, I've got confidence in our players that they are comfortable and confident of going into that game, feeling fit, feeling sharp, feeling as ready as they can do. Obviously, it's not like having a pre-season and going in through pre-season friendlies and then going straight into a league campaign. We're literally going from 2 sessions after 3 months into an FA Cup second round game where, there is, although prize money's not everything, there is prize money at stake. There's the opportunity to get to the 3rd round and play against the team in the division above. There's the opportunity to hopefully raise the profile of our club and showcase our talents, even though fans aren't allowed in. And we'll try and give a good account of ourselves and hopefully, like I said, go through.
Yeah, fantastic. Dan, can I ask you, how was your training session, your first training session back? How was that different from what you'd normally do?
I think Rob's hit the nail on the head. I think this week has just been purely social returns for me. The girls have been away from each other far too long. We had quite a close-knit group That showed over difficult times over the last 2 years, and for me, it's just been all about the social returns. So tactically, we haven't actually covered a lot this week. Yeah, we came in Tuesday, played a friendly behind closed doors on Wednesday evening, then did a little bit of tactical work on Thursday. But yeah, it's just been purely social for us. I know what Rob's saying. Absolutely, everyone never go into a game wanting to get beat, but it's the same on Sunday. I just want them to go out and give a good account of themselves. I think it's what they're being asked to do is I can't even describe it, if I'm honest. I think I've said it a few times now with touch wood. If one of my players gets injured Sunday after 6 days training, will anybody there be there to support her, or will she have to hobble away to work on Monday morning? So there's bigger things to football than football going on this weekend, because I bet you it's just a football club that I've got a supporter, and the powers that be won't have any support for anyone that gets injured. So, I just question whether would they ask anybody above tier 3 to do it. And I think we all know the answer to that. So, for me, going into this weekend, it's about getting through it safely. It's about reconnecting as a group. It's about enjoying a great occasion. Wolves have made it a great occasion, putting it on Wolves TV. And other than that, mate, if we go through, fantastic. And if we don't, then, we'll take it for what it is.
I'm interested when you say about obviously players getting injured, how much the club's insurance helps them out, because we had that situation last year with a Watford player. She was 23 years old. She had a cruciate ligament injury, I think, and she said, the club aren't paying for it. I can't pay $15,000 to go private. Yeah. I have to wait a year on the NHS, and then there'll be a year of recovery. I might as well retire. So, I mean, how at the National League level, how much can the club support players who are injured?
I think that's a club by club basis thing, right? If I'm honest, it depends how much the club are invested in the women's program. We're quite lucky at Wolves with what the support that we've received over the time, over the last 2-3 years, and hopefully that'll continue to help us grow. But yeah, that's you've hit the nail on the head there. There's certain clubs, and they're not in isolation. It's happening right across tiers 3 and 4. And even in the Championship, players are getting injured and then almost cast aside because that it's not worth fixing them, if you like, if that's the right thing to say. So yeah, that's my biggest worry is going into this weekend. It's I just don't think it's right. It doesn't sit comfortable with me to be asked to potentially, there's people out there who are in careers who can't have 6 months off work. So it wouldn't surprise me if right across the country there's a couple of players who probably said, actually, I'm not going to risk that. Obviously, we're lucky enough not got any of them in our group. I don't know about Dave and Rob, but I couldn't argue with that. I genuinely couldn't argue with that. Risking a broken leg or an ACL, touch wood again, doesn't happen to anybody in the National League, but it's just not ideal in my book.
Yeah, and Dave, how do you assess the fitness levels of your players? To decide whether they're actually ready to play on Sunday or not.
We've been quite lucky because my S&C guys have been on top of them like everybody else have been doing their Zooms and their fitness and everything like that. But what we've done like 3 weeks prior to knowing that we were going to come back and obviously play in the FA Cup, we started doing the one-to-one sessions. Now the guys, the feedback I was getting from them was like, the fitness, you can see it all there and that, but their touches on the ball were like way off. Do you know what I mean? And they were blowing after like 20, 25 minutes. And I'm sure Rob and Dan will agree with me. There's nothing like the actual football fitness. You can pound the streets, you can do this, you can do that. But football fitness is a complete different thing, and luckily we did that. So, when they came back on Tuesday, we weren't too much focused on, we sort of knew where everybody was, and that which was handy. But I get where the guys, like Dan's saying about the injuries and that, we have got a couple of injuries to players, that have happened in the lockdown, and there's not a lot you can do about them outside of football, stupid ones. And the other thing is it's taken a mental effect on one of my players. She's decided that things are more important now than football. So she's taken a step aside, and I've got one player that's stuck on the Isle of Man. So, so you have to legislate for all these things coming back so quick and stuff like that, I don't know if it's known at the moment, but we have actually managed to sign 4 players this week, but we were told that none of them were eligible to play because they weren't eligible for the game on the 2nd of January. And I think apparently because we kicked up such a stink, our league secretary sent an email around to everybody else to say they didn't fall in the same trap. Yeah,
get disqualified or because of an ineligible play would be really harsh.
Right now. I brought it up yesterday afternoon, funny enough. I remember Reading did it a few years ago. They beat somebody and 24 hours later they were slung out of the competition. And it was put down as an administrative error.
Yeah. Dave, I mean, how many weeks would you have liked to have had of full team training before you went back into competitive football?
Well, I think if you get to, you like to work with the girls for at least 5 to 6 sessions for me. Do you know what I mean? And as you can hear, like the guys have done 2 sessions, maybe done a lot of light friendly and stuff like that. And yeah, it's not enough. So it is an unknown. And like Rob said, it is all a level playing field this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the FA, I mean, we're looking at it, you got the 3rd round next week and the 4th round the week after when the bigger teams come in. Does anybody think, this is what I'm thinking, they've squeezed it all together because I think that's when the season's almost over after the 4th round. Have they squeezed it all together to get that 4th round in this season? Because the rest of the competition, I think, is in next season. Why couldn't they have left that 4th round till next season and had the 2nd round next week and the 3rd round the week after to give the players as much time as possible to get fit, to get to the standard they need to avoid injuries? Anybody?
We was all. I think we all got a bit excited. I know I did. I don't know about Rob and Dave, but when it all got crammed in like that, we got a bit excited that maybe they might have come to some kind of solution with the league. You know, why are we having to go bang bang bang? It baffles me. It really does. I honestly got my hopes up. All the girls did. I think half the country did. You know, they must be cramming it in so we can play till the end of May, get halfway through the league, and then we'll do 50% or whatever it is. But yeah, I just don't get it. I'm kind of hoping for snow this weekend, to be honest, so we can have.
I was talking to my mum, and she lives not too far from, a bit further on, not too far from Brighouse on the other side of the Pennines, and she said it's supposed to snow on Monday. So you might get your wish. I really don't know what's going to happen actually if games are called off because of the if there's a waterlogged pitch or something like that. How do you squeeze that game and do you end up tossing a coin?
Kent play midweek. Kent played Wednesday, didn't they, against Enfield? It went to penalties as well, so I can't imagine what they felt. You know, they've had less time to prepare. Ultimately, they've had to play a midweek game after 3 months off. It's gone all the way through extra time to penalties, and someone's been knocked out 4-3. You know, that must have been heartbreaking. But at the same time, what Dan said about fitness, it must have been, out on their legs, particularly after extra time. I can't imagine it. You know, we say that, football's football and everyone can play it whenever, but when you're playing at a good level, be able to compete to the best of your ability and to be able to get through games without picking up muscular injuries or strains, like Dan said as well, about going to work as well for them it would be Thursday, but going to work on Monday after a difficult game after 3 months out. It doesn't matter how fit you are. Football's completely different. You take hits, you get niggles, stretches that you wouldn't do when you were running. So it is difficult, and I think it's a fine balance because, as you mentioned, everyone was so excited to get back to playing. You kind of forgot about all the little details that come with it, and you were just so focused on, right, we're going to be getting a competitive game here. We're really lucky to be playing. Other teams aren't playing that aren't in the competition. Let's get on with it. We're playing this week. If we get through next week, and we play until we get knocked out, sort of thing. Then you start to think about the amount of preparation time that you've actually been given. And you start to think about player welfare, and you start to actually remind yourself that you're not even going to have spectators there. So you've then got to think about the financial aspects of paying for your match officials, because if you get knocked out, I don't know what the prize fund is. It a couple of £100. Our referees are going to be £150 on Sunday. If we've got no fans there, we've had to do a GoFundMe to to get some money in to make sure we can pay for refs, pay for food, pay for our ground rent at the club, pay for our washing bills, things like that. You know, you forget about all those things because you're so excited to get back playing. And I think for me now, we want to try and make the best of the game on Sunday and give us the best possible opportunity to go through, so that we're not even losing out financially. We want to get through without getting anyone hurt or injured. I mean, we normally train on a Monday, so that is going to be, you know, that's got to be a recovery session regardless, win, lose, or well, you can't draw, but, you know, whatever happens.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the actual numbers. I did read something last week. I think it was 250 quid if you get knocked out in the second round. I think, right. And is it £1,000 if you get through? Don't quote me on that, but I'd tried to have a quick look on the FA website. It's not the easiest to navigate and find what you're looking for. Dan, here's a question. I mean, obviously, in Enfield probably started training on, I guess, Monday. They played a football match on Wednesday. They've got knocked out. So they've had, you know, I think that's their season over now. But look at Kent United. Is it Kent Football United? I think they're called. They've got through. Do you think it's going to benefit them to have had that game on Wednesday, fitness-wise, or is it going to be worse for them to have had that game on Wednesday and then playing again on Sunday?
Well, I think I mentioned before we had a game on Wednesday evening, and I took 25. There was 25 players there. You know, it was literally just to try and give them half an hour each of that match tempo. Well, I say match tempo. The opposition obviously had already had 3 months off as well. So, you know, but going, as Rob said, going to extra time and then going to penalties. I think that even emotionally, that's tiring, isn't it? I think we all know as managers, we've all had a penalty shootout, and not just physically, that's emotionally draining. So, you know, I'm sure the guys at Kent will do a fantastic job in preparing the players. But for me, I think that's a hard one. That, you know, you've had a really tough time midweek on a Wednesday. How do you then? When do you even do a session then? You know what I mean? Most teams are trained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So has he had his players in Friday? Because Thursday must have been a recovery session. I'm not too sure how I'd even plan for that, to be honest. But, you know, best of luck to them. You know, I hope they do well after a tough start. As I said, we're moaning about 6 days, but 3 days was absolutely ludicrous, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Dave, can I ask you about the FA Cup? Obviously, the games at this weekend. What does the FA Cup mean to clubs at your level? You know, and the chance to get through to the next round and obviously play a bigger club and possibly get through to the fourth round and play a WSL club.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember a couple of seasons ago, we were fortunate enough to get through a couple of rounds. We beat Coventry, who were top of the Southern at the particular time, and then the prize was getting Arsenal at home. And that was a fantastic day for the club. Like, you know, it sort of brought all the town together, basically. Do you know what I mean? We were very fortunate. Brighton and Hove Albion were playing Manchester United on the same day. So we managed to arrange with Brighton and obviously Manchester United that they could play at 12 and we would play at 2:30 so that fans could go and watch both games and that. And it was great because we had 1,500 fans there, which was great for us and everything like that. And very respectable. We only lost 4-0 to a WSL team. You know, when we were in the southeast, so it was a great day, great for the club. And once you've had a taste of that, you want it again, and you want it and again, and you want it again. And it was, you know, last year, one of another reason, you know, we went out of the cup quite early and that sort of thing, and it did hurt. You know, obviously tasting that one season, then going out pretty early the next season. Like, you know, I know the girls want another taste of it this season.
Yeah. Stephen Jobson in the chat is just telling us it is 250 quid for the losers in the second round and £1,000 for the winner. So thanks for that, Stephen. I mean, how much does the prize money at your level? Let's try with Dan. How much does the prize money make a difference to the club finances? £1,000 for the winners, and obviously more if you get through to the fourth round.
Yeah, I think was that to me, right? Because it was just again, it's one of them, and it depends on the club. You know, we're really lucky at the minute. You know, Wolves are a massive brand, and they've been absolutely fantastic. I can't thank the club enough over the last few years, and hopefully it'll continue. But without sounding disrespectful, there's other clubs within the National League pyramid and below that aren't supported, and even in the Championship, there's clubs that are really struggling. So that £1,000 probably means a hell of a lot to them. It's the same as it related to the men's game, isn't it? Some of these clubs they earn 5-10 years worth of seasons from going through, and as Dave said, they're attracting 1,500 to an FA Cup game at tier 3 is absolutely fantastic, and it's worth more than the money for me. I think it's that whole, it's the memory. I've talked about it a lot over the last 2 years of, us, Robert, Brighouse, Dave, we've lost memories, we've lost opportunities to create something together as a group. So, for us personally, the money side of it is not so key, but it's that memory that we lose. I don't know if the other lads agree or not.
Oh yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Totally agree. It's that. I mean,
I think you mentioned it, Dan. Sorry. Dave.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think, for us, the money, okay, the money, you can't say like, well, we need to get here because we need that particular money. If you get there, great, it's a little bonus and it does offset the costs that obviously that you get. As one of my guys said, it's better that you get through the rounds away from home because you haven't got them finances, so you can bank that. Do you know what I mean? But that's a tough ask. If you got 3 tough games to get, and your prize probably in the 4th, 5th round or something like that is one of the WSL clubs. Great, it's a win-win situation. But if you have 2 home games or 3 home games, then you're in trouble.
You're skin before you get there. I think the WSL clubs come through in the 4th round, start playing. I'll ask Rob. Obviously, you got no fans going to grounds, and I don't know how many fans you'd normally get. How hard do you think it is for the fans not to be able to go to an FA Cup game, second round game, and miss all that excitement too?
Yeah,
obviously they're really disappointed.
Yeah, they are. Like Dan just said earlier on, we've actually teamed up to do our game on a live stream on Sunday. First one for us. So hopefully, our fans will be tuning in to watch it, and hopefully we'll get some new ones as well, which will be good.
Yeah. What about you, Rob, and your fans? How are they missing the game?
So we're going to have a live radio from the ground. We could have done a live feed and potentially could do something through YouTube. I've seen a couple of clubs doing stuff which is absolutely fantastic. Our fans will be, they will be disappointed to miss out. We've started building a decent fan base over the last couple of years where we're getting 200 or 300 people coming quite regular now. We do like sort of junior gala days before our games as well. So we really engage with the community. So we've missed out on that over the last, 3 months and even longer where we've not been allowed to have people in. I think from a financial point of view for a club like Brighouse, obviously £1,000 is massive, to be fair. But I never look at the prize money and think, oh, we're playing for the prize money. We're playing for the memories. We're playing for the moments, as Dan mentioned about having moments taken away from you. I remember having Everton at home the season when they won the Championship, and they were a top side, and we had about 500 people there, and it was an unbelievable experience to go up against, Andy Spence and I can't remember the lad, Hoy. It's the 2 lads who were taking the team. It was a great experience for us to go up against them, and the players that they had in there as well, some top, now professional players. And then I think the season after we went to the 4th round and had Sunderland away, and at the time they were 4th in the country. They were only Man City, Chelsea and Arsenal above them at that time. And again, playing against players like Lucy Staniforth, who's now obviously an England international and playing at a top level in the Super League. Again, we got battered on the day, but it wasn't about that. It was a really good coach trip up there, coach trip back. Unbelievable experience. And Sunderland, I cannot thank them enough. They were top class. To say they were the 4th best team in the country, and what's happened to them? is really, it's sad, it's disappointing, and it shouldn't have happened. They were top class on the day. They really looked after us. They gave us a signed shirt, got us teas, coffees. They made sure they couldn't do enough. And that's the experience that you want. And they're the kind of top quality experiences that you want from top teams. And I think those moments, as Dave said, you want to experience them over and over and over again. And you want to do it with your group of players. And you want to try and go around and can and compete against the very best teams in the country. The prize money is secondary for me.
Yeah, I got a viewer question for Craig, for Dan. It's from Craig Hadley. I think he's a Birmingham City fan. He's asking, with the league shut down, have you seen your younger players get support from local academies to continue playing competitive games? And he says, I think Sophie's with Villa right now.
So I believe everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? I mean, we had two fantastic young talents in Sophie Bramford, who Craig's on about, and another girl called Alice. And at the end, obviously, the season was curtailed last year. We was about to win it, and it got curtailed. So they both chose to move to WSL academies. Went to Aston Villa, and at the time, you gutted. Listen, you want your players to move on to go and achieve. Of course you do, but you're gutted to lose a decent player. I'd argue that with anyone. But you look back on it now and you think, God, thank God they did. Because another 12 months like we've had, what would that have done to their development? So they've moved into that elite program and they've managed to, keep training, keep playing. As Craig said, they've been playing competitive games and stuff like that for a lot longer than what the National League have been allowed to. So we haven't seen any of our younger players move across there, but thankfully Wolves worked hard to get the RTC, that elite program, back up and running as quick as it could. So the younger girls have been in there. So yeah, it's been positive. But can't wait to get everyone back and just forget all this nightmare.
Absolutely. Thanks for your question, Craig. We're going to move on to something that happened more than 7 days ago, but I think it's still relevant. It's the new broadcasting deal for the WSL and Championship. And briefly, that's 21 to 24 million pounds over the next 3 years. Sky and the BBC. Sky will show up to 44 games a season, minimum 35. And I think the BBC are going to show something in the region of 22, maximum of 22, something like that. A lot of money for the WSL clubs. It's about 450,000, and the Championship, the clubs get about 150,000. So I want to ask you guys, how do you think this extra money that the other clubs are getting is going to affect the National League financially and exposure-wise? I'll let anybody take that.
Go on, Dan. You can. You love this.
Do you know what, Dave? I think it was it yourself that put the piece out about the categorisation. Was it? Yeah.
I don't think it was me.
It came from some. I'm sure it came from Crawley Ross about the. We've just got.
It might have been my chairman. My chairman's very vocal. He's a good lad.
Yeah. No, it's just about how it's not so much where that money's going to go. It's are we right to be categorised within grassroots? And I think that's what hurts us the most. And obviously we're not involved in that whole TV deal. We're not asking to be, but has that? And this is a question, not a statement. Has that the fact that we are classed as that grassroots, and now they've got that new fantastic deal, which is absolutely amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it for the female game. But is that gap getting bigger? Whereas I think a couple of seasons ago, the FA announced that the National League was the pillar of the elite game. I don't know. I'm posing a question there. Is that gap getting wider, not smaller?
I think personally, I think what will happen is, as more money comes into the game, it'll be very similar to the men's game, where we start seeing, regardless of Brexit, we will start seeing top quality foreign players coming in. You're seeing Pernilla Harder coming in for like a record fee, big wages. Top quality player, not knocking that, but I think more players will start coming from abroad. You'll see the Americans, you'll see players coming over from the likes of Lyon, Bayern Munich, Wolfsburg, and Barcelona. They'll start coming over, and what that may or may not do, it'll either stunt the growth of our younger players, the RTC players that are wanting to get through, which then you'll see a knock-on effect where players will probably drop down. So the quality in play will probably get even better in sort of the Championship, Tier 3, Tier 4. But from a financial point of view, I really can't see how the deal is going to benefit anyone, particularly at our level. Exposure-wise, the women's football is going to get a good deal of exposure. They're going to get, good viewings on the Championship and the Super League and on the FA Player and things like that. But when it comes to the National League teams, and I'm coming from a Brighouse Town point of view and probably a Crawley Wasps point of view as well, we do not have the name or the brand that's going to sell anything for BT, for Sky. That's why we've got to sort of fight even harder to get ourselves up there and build our own brand in our own right. I mean, teams like Coventry United as well in the Championship. I mean, even Durham, they're doing outstanding. They've not got a big sort of men's team name that's easily recognisable, shall we say, that would maybe benefit us. I mean, we've got aspirations to go higher, as I'm sure Dan and Dave have got as well. I think from the financial point of view, I just, at this moment in time, I can't see how it's going to benefit particularly us or our leagues, barring maybe sponsors wanting to jump on board, thinking that maybe in the long run something might come of it. I don't know what the other guys think.
Well, like, I've been one of those that has been very anti about the fact that getting to the next level for us is all about the financial, how much money you can put in and have this in place and that in place and all that. Like, I played football for a long time and stuff like that. And it was all about, if you got promotion, you got promoted. Doesn't matter. It wasn't put in front of you. Like, if you went to the next level, your chairman knew that he was going to have to pay this player this and that player that sort of thing. You weren't told that you have to have a streamline of that sort of amount of money before you can even think about going there.
I think Huddersfield were a prime example, aren't they? They were flying this year, and they said even if we win it, we're still not going to go up, which is that was a massive shame, isn't it? It shouldn't be like that. But I think the demands of the league above, the figures that get bandied round, I think you're on a lose, aren't you? You ain't going to recoup that back. You go into the Championship, you're almost facing a loss.
But if you're getting that 150,000, will that not help?
Yeah, well, 100%. I think this is the big bonus, isn't it? That hopefully that is going to be that injection that certainly the teams in the Championship and the bottom half of the Super League, they need that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you've got to hope that if Huddersfield do get the chance to go up again, they're not going to turn around and say we can't afford to do it, because hopefully that 150,000 will bridge that gap and help them to come up. And I'm hoping, like Rob said,
I think we're being a bit disrespectful to Fylde, Ray. Sorry, I think we're being a bit disrespectful to Fylde as well, because I always hear about Huddersfield Town top of the league and they're going to win it and all this, and they can't go up. And Fylde have got a better goal difference. They've got 2 games in hand and they're only 6 points behind, but nobody really speaks about Fylde. And that goes back to what I was saying about Huddersfield Town, big club, big following. Fylde really didn't have a women's team at the start of the season, and they've come back from the ashes, so to speak, and they've done absolutely tremendous. And do you know what? Their team is unbelievable. They've got some top quality players in there that could and have played even higher. And I think to discount them, I'm not saying we are, but I think others are, to discount them is a little bit disrespectful, because I think they're an outstanding side who probably thinking the same thing. We could be challenged for that title and we're not going to be able to go up.
Yeah, I'm just using Huddersfield as an example of a club that said we can't afford it, but it applies to anybody who's going up and who previously would have thought I can't afford it. I think now we can.
Sorry, Ray, not yet. I think it was a very, very brave thing that they've done, Huddersfield, to actually come out and say that. Yeah. When you think that the fact that, am I right in saying Burnley are going full time next year?
Yeah. Or the year after.
Year 3. So that'll put massive pressure on Huddersfield Town next year, knowing that, one of them clubs in their league are full time, and to get that jump to the next level, they've got to overcome them next season.
Yeah. I mean, there are other teams in there, aren't there, as well? Derby County, Nottingham Forest. I think they've got unbelievable programmes.
There's a lot of quality in the north.
I think the only reason we're talking about the Huddersfield Rovers, I think, is because that they did come out and say it. I don't think there's. I feel like I've had a telling off it. There was bloody 6-7 games in, weren't there? And as you said, FAWNL, they're amazing. I know a lot of their girls that are up there, and the coaches have done an incredible job. But there's others in there, we were 7 games in, weren't we? So anything could have happened. But I think we're talking about others because they came out and said it, and as Dave said, it's really brave thing to do. So, but no, I take your point on Bud about the name. Is the name help with that?
But don't you think that with Huddersfield as well, like the men's team are missing a big opportunity there as well to sort of take Huddersfield in a little bit? Because if they are sort of fighting at the top end of tier 3 with the potential to go tier 2 championship, and with that comes that added money, shall we say, from Sky, BBC, whatever. They're missing a bit of an opportunity to support them a little bit more there. I mean, I don't know what the finances are and the ins and outs at Huddersfield Town Men's Football Club, whether they can do that or not. But I would like to think that longer term, that potentially they could work closer together and give them that opportunity, because obviously their on-field performance have been outstanding. And if it's an off-field thing, like Dave said, that's holding them back, surely that can't be right. You've got to be able to go up on merit. That's where I stand.
I think, and again, I'm not talking about Huddersfield at all, Rob. This is a generalisation thing, but it goes back to how many women's team just wear the kit, and how many women's team actually supported by the clubs. Do you know what I mean? It's easy to be a separate entity, but have a full strip of a certain badge, but not actually get the support that's required to do that. So I don't know. Again, that's a question, not a statement, and not related to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that the deal won't have an impact in the short term, but in the medium term, like Robert said, you'll get some more of the biggest stars in the world coming to England to play in the Super League. You'll get some of the better players that might have made it in the past in the Super League or the Championship dropping down to the national leagues. So I think that'll help. But you'll also get a lot of young people, young girls who will say, with all that exposure, they'll want to get in the game. So I'm hopeful that the talent pool will improve dramatically in the next 5 or 10 years. And sponsors will look at that and say, it's the same in men's football. Well, I can't afford to sponsor somebody in the Premier League, but a local business can afford to sponsor somebody in League 2. And they might say, well, that's our entry into competitive women's football, and start there and work our way up.
I think I heard someone talking the other day, Robert. I can't remember where it was, but that the reason they won't expand the leagues at the minute is because that talent pool actually isn't there. So if you're going to expand the leagues, you need players who are capable of playing in the Super League, and are capable of going up against City and Arsenal and Chelsea, and that's potentially the worry, that it isn't actually there, that talent pool. So then you think to yourself, well, within tier 3 at the minute, how many internationals have we got? I mean, Helen Ward down at Watford. There's another couple of young girls. They're currently not playing football. I know Helen, I think, been to London Bees on loan, but they're currently not playing football. These are international footballers who can't get on the grass because of where they categorised within tier 3. So if we're talking about developing players and making that pool bigger, we actually can't. The last 2 years has been absolutely horrendous for development, and I wonder how many of these. You think of girls within tier 3 who are international youngsters and they're looking to try and carve a career in football. What's these 2 curtailments said to them? Because for me, it said it's not the pathway isn't there. How many of them are going to turn their back on it and go, I'm going to be a police officer, I'm going to join the Air Force, I'm going to go and be a nurse. You know what I mean? That's what worries me about the old development and how the last couple of years have gone.
I mean, what do you think of that upward movement that was spoken about? How are they going to go about that? Don't say things and then don't produce it. That's the way I see it. And I think, have they said that just to keep people happy in the short term and hope that people forget about it? I'd be very intrigued to see how, I'm not talking about the Super League and Championship, I'd be very interested to see how the upward movement and how they would promote teams and on what basis, how they would do that within the structure now, particularly for next season, because obviously I'm sat in a room, well, I'm not sat in the same room, but I'm sat in a meeting now with 2 other managers whose teams, along with my own and Ipswich and Huddersfield and Sunderland, and all those teams have been absolutely outstanding on the pitch for the last 18, 24 months and beyond. And we've not been able to finish our season. And as you mentioned, Dan, have have those moments and, you know, celebrate lifting a league title, which is the most important thing when at the end of the season. How are they going to deal with the upward movement? How is it going to look? Are we going 14 teams? Are we, you know, I'm really intrigued to see how that's going to happen, because after that announcement, we've not heard anything, and we're in April now. I'm assuming that the league campaign will probably start mid-August, if not before. I know the men's at our men's level is starting the end of July. That only gives us sort of 2 months again to prepare for a league season, and nothing's been spoken about and what the criteria is and how it's going to look. So I'm really intrigued as to how that's going to happen. And, you know, hopefully that, if that does happen, will increase the opportunities for teams to gain promotion, in turn develop players, and in turn increase the talent pool so that we can get those players up to the top level. So for me, I'm really, really intrigued, and obviously I'll be interested to see how that would look moving forward.
Yeah, I think for me, there's got to be a definite plan in place this season. I think that was the biggest mistake, you know, having had the curtailment the season before, not going into this season, having a plan in place for this scenario that has happened. You know, I think that was, you know, a lot of us, Dan included, I know from some group chats and that it was the most disappointing thing in that. And it's almost as if we're there to try and fend off what's going on in the league. Do you know what I mean? Just to keep the players going and things like that, you know. But it'd be good next season to know that if, God forbid, this all crept up again and that there is a plan in place next season. Because teams like Wolves, Ipswich, Southampton and that, you know, they can't keep going season after season, running away with it and then being told you can't go anywhere. You know, it's not right.
And do you know what? I don't think it's the FA Women's National League fault. I think, you know,
no, I don't know, and I'm not blaming our league, Rob. Honestly,
no,
I'm not blaming our league.
I kind of feel they're in a position where they're the front person, so they get all the blame, and everyone gives them the backlash and gives the comments on Twitter and things like that. But really, they were waiting for the FA, and the FA took quite a long to decide what was going to happen. And then the FA Women's National League get the brunt of it, and I don't know whether we need. I don't know if there is some representation within the FA for the Women's National League or the women's game at our level. I know there is higher up. Just someone have a little bit of a voice and sort of support us a little bit.
But that's what I did mean. I didn't sort of mean our league. I did mean the top, i.e. the FA again. You know, because I think Carol and that, they do a fantastic job. I think they do a great 100%. Job.
I think they've done a fantastic job, but it goes full circle, doesn't it? Like the National League, how they've took the flack they have on Twitter and stuff like that. It was the clubs that wanted this.
I think that's
and that's what I said it on my interview last week. I'd love to just have an open, honest discussion with one of the clubs, whoever voted for it, and say, so what is your plan now? So you wanted to end the season, which I respect, 100% respect that. But what are you going to play friendlies now? Because I don't see the logic in that. So I'd just like to have a chat with one of the null and void clubs because they voted for it. So the National League.
Dan, they say it's the majority. A lot of the clubs I've spoken to, whether they're telling the truth or whatever, protecting themselves, a lot of them wanted to play on. And do you know what? You said it earlier in a previous question. We played 7 games. So even if you bottom after 7 games, you've still got 13, 14, 15 games. You've got 45 points to play for.
Yeah.
Back yourself as a coach, back yourself as a club, back your players. You recruited during the summer.
Yeah.
Go and get the job done. And if you don't think they're capable, or you don't think you're capable, or your club's not ready, hold your hands up. Hold your hands up and say, look, you know, we need support.
I think, Rob, Dave hit the nail on the head. Clubs are always going to vote for what benefits them. So if you're a gaffer, if I was at Wolves and I was 8 after 7 games, I'm 5 points off the top, and I've got to win the league, otherwise I'm going to get the sack. I'm going to vote to null and void it. So there's that side of it as well. It's not just the relegation side of it. So people have voted, and rightly so. People have voted for what's going to benefit them. I would have done the same, Dave, Rob. You all would have done the same. But it's
100%.
got, before a football is kicked, has to be written down next year. It's got to be written down. I think that's the lesson we've come through after 2 years.
I think basically it's a lack.
I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, I think what you guys are saying, it's a lack of planning and foresight, because we saw the disruption last season. There was always a risk, some would say a big risk, that there was going to be disruption again this season. And there was, like you said, there's no plan in place. So it actually rolls on to my next question a little bit. What support do the clubs below championship level in the National League and below, what support do they need to be successful? We're not just talking about money, but what one, if you could change one thing or have one thing, what would it be?
I think for me, it was what Dan said earlier on about players getting injured. I think that's a major factor at our level, that there is something there. If a player does get a serious injury, that they're taken care of. If I could have one thing, that would be it.
Yeah. But I agree, Dave, because you could end up losing your career as a footballer and your career, whatever you were making it on in your full-time career. So that's a big thing. What about you, Rob? Is there anything you'd really wanted for support?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. That we've been lucky enough where we've not had a career sort of ending injury as such. We have had some, pretty serious injuries, not career ending, and I won't say thankfully, but it's happened to people who have been students, but they're still missing out on their education when they can't go in and they've got to go to a hospital appointment, or they've got to go get an x-ray or a scan. But I think particularly if there is something there that the FA can support with, a little bit like, I think it's the LMA, where they look after the managers and they've got the PFA for the players. I think if there was a women's version of that, where you can there's a little buy-in, I suppose, for all the players. I'm not talking about financially. It's just when you register for a team, you automatically become a member of that group. And if you get a serious injury where it is career threatening, I'm not talking about it from a football point of view, I'm talking about from your work, where you're missing lots of time off work. I think there needs to be an element of financial support. And although there is the insurance there, which does pay, it's just a drop in the ocean when it comes to funding some people's jobs. We've got firefighters and police women and teachers, and they're earning decent money that they wouldn't be able to survive on the insurance money, so to speak, and they'd have to just go to work and potentially stop playing ultimately.
Have you got anything to add, Dan?
I think obviously that's the go-to one, isn't it? But I think if we were going to do something to improve our environment, I'd like to see it be recategorised and not taken more seriously, because that sounds disrespectful. But there's some work going on in the National League. There's some coaches that are giving it absolutely everything, 20, 30, 40 hours a week. The players giving it more than that. These girls, some of them put babies on hold. Some of them, they miss family occasions. They miss things that young girls should go out and do to try and achieve at football. So to be categorised within the same tiering system as, some of these, and again, it's absolutely fine, and I'm not disrespectful, but the social groups, to be categorised in that huge category with another 350 odd teams, I think really, really, really lets it down. It's really quite poor. So, I'd like to see them, rejuvenate. I'm not saying we want to be, full-time professional. That's not what I'm saying, but
we do.
Yeah, of course we do, Rob. I mean, not at tier 4, but we want to get there. But something between that grassroots and full-time, or professional elite, as they've been calling it. Something between.
Well, the men are semi-pro, don't they? The men are semi-pros.
Yeah.
And like I say, the players give everything after a full week at work. They have to train 2-3 times a week, then they've got to go play, travel around the country, play against, and the level is increasing so much. And even the managers that you come up against now, it's always a really good tactical battle. Teams are really organised, really well set up. You've got outstanding footballers that you're coming up against. individually and collectively. So it's always a difficult battle, and there are no easy games within our leagues. You know, we always come up against really difficult opponents. For us to then be called grassroots and say we're stopping playing is, you know, it's really difficult to take and hard to take with the amount of time and effort we all put in.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to an ex-player yesterday, and she said she'd go to train, come back, you know, 10, 11 o'clock at night, have a shower, go to bed at 12, and she'd have to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock to go to work the next day. And she said, looking back, I don't know how I did that. And it is obviously really difficult for young girls, young women to actually juggle everything and try and take their career forwards.
Love of the game. That's what it is.
Absolutely. That's why we do it. I'll big up the channel for a second and say that's why we do it. It's purely for the love of the game. I've got to thank all the volunteers who contribute their videos, come on shows, and you guys as well, come on shows like this. I think it was only our first month. Last month we put out 32 videos. We're aiming for 100 this month. We always say this, anybody wants to get involved, we're here. And you want to talk about women's football at any level, anywhere in the world, we'll give you a platform to do that. So big thanks to everybody who's helping behind the scenes. I think my last question is kind of opposite to saying thank you. There's been a problem in the men's game for a while, is online abuse. And sometimes it's not just been online abuse, it's spread over to physical abuse and verbal abuse in the street of players and referees and managers as well. And it's creeping into the women's game. And I'm talking from a fan's point of view. Some of us fans have, we chatted, how do we stop this? How do we stop it creeping in and getting worse? So I don't know if you guys have had any experience of this. You'd hope not at the level you're playing at. But have you got any experience of abuse to yourselves or players or referees? And in the broader game, how can we actually try and stop that getting worse?
For me, I think it's the girls. The girls are sticking up for each other a lot more about it. When it's said, all this, and us being managers of women's teams, we think, where has this guy come from and why has he said that? Do you know what I mean? Just some of them just don't get it, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? But you do see a lot of the girls sticking up for each other. You might not even know them, but they know that they're football players, so they're as one. So they jump on it straight away, and as a bit of support for them and stuff like that. But yeah, we have to nip it in the bud before it gets too bad.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dave. Being associated with Wolves, it gets you more on social media and stuff. It gets you more, seen. I know that's not very good English. It gets you more seen.
Visibility.
And this week, Wolves have put out a one-pack week, and it's been fantastic. My girls have been in, and they've done various bits, and they've released them. And I go through the threads, and I think, what is going on here? You feel like going on there, don't you, and getting involved. But that's what they want. That's what these people want. They want you to. So we just, it shouldn't be like that, Ray. But ignore it. But should the girls have to do that? Should the girls have to ignore, this kind of stuff? And we had an episode this week, couple of weeks back, where it's actually somebody involved in the game. It's incredible. I just don't see what people get out of it. If you don't like it, then just don't watch it. I don't particularly like cricket, I'll be honest with you, so I just don't watch it. I don't go online and start giving people grief. Do you know what I mean?
I call them the who cares brigade. Every time you see a comment about women's football, you always get some numpty who puts on, or who cares? Well, you cared enough to comment. What's your problem? Yeah. I don't like dances. I don't mind cricket, but it's not my first sport. But I don't go on and because I'm a football person, on and say, oh, who cares? Whenever a cricket thing comes on, or any other sport or anything in life, if you're not interested in that individual sport or that particular discipline, you just don't follow it. You just don't ignore it. I just don't get it. I had an incident. Well, I won't call it an incident. I had something a few weeks ago where I think it was a Huddersfield Town player. I think they'd put something on, and a troll had jumped on and started giving it. So I just jumped on me and backed the player up and just said, do you know what? Like, this is out of order, this. And he tried to hit me with the, well, you would do that because you coach birds, you. And I was like, well, I've never coached a bird in my life. I coach, you know, female athletes who want to play at the top level. And he just shut up. Like, he just said, oh, well, turns computer off when he starts talking nonsense. And I just said, is that a note to self? And he just shut up and he was gone. And it's just like, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it.
You could have said, I don't train tits like you. Anyway.
I don't want to go that far, you know. You never know what's going to come from it. But I think I try and ignore it as much as I can. But if I see something that I'm passionate about, and I think, what are you talking about, you? Because you know what, I've played football. I've not played professionally. I've played at an okay level, and now I'm getting, particularly when I'm getting a little bit older. Now I'm 36. But when I train with these girls, wow, I can't live with them. They ping it round past me, and I can't deal with it. And if that's happening to me, I see some of these people online who have probably never played a single game of football, giving it, laughing at people, or you can't do this, you can't do that. I'd invite them to come down and I'd invite them to train with them, and I'd just say, you know what, jump in, get involved, and let the girls show them just how good they are and put them in their place firmly. But I don't want them anywhere near my team. You know, I don't want them anywhere near. I don't want that negativity, and I think it's really disrespectful. I think it's demeaning. I just don't think about it. Just jump on behind the keyboard, faceless, jump on and try and get a reaction. And sometimes they get a bite out of me because I'm a bit like that.
But it goes back to this whole thing about the compare, doesn't it? And we've been saying for years, don't compare it. Don't compare it. Women's football is a thing of its own. You know, you watch men's football, that's fine. If you watch women's football, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? But don't compare the two.
Well, look at the Chelsea Wolfsburg game. That was class. Both legs, games. The level's increasing.
I just hope they sort of get a handle on it on the social medias before this Sky and BT deal, because all that's going to do is bring in more fans to it and more people who are watching, and you don't want to see it there. You don't want to, as Rob said, and Dave. You get attached to these girls, don't you? You know, you spend that much time together. You feel like you've got to go in and protect them and back for them at times. And you know, the worst thing you can do is get involved. But you just think, why have I got to ignore you? Why has one of my players got to see what you know that you wouldn't? Whatever you know, it's just gets you down.
I saw today that I think Arsenal, before the Sky BBC deal comes in, they've got some sort of online abuse training now. I mean, that's how bad it's got, that they're having to do special courses to get them ready for the level of abuse that might be coming, and it is ridiculous. You don't know where people are, what possesses them to do what they're doing, and it's easy. You guys are right. It's easy to say the best thing to do is just ignore it, but the players do see it. I mean, I know at my club, Man City, the players said we do see these things. You know, Alex Greenwood got a lot of rubbish when she joined City, because she was an ex-United player. It was like, hang on, she played for Everton, she played for Liverpool. You know, didn't the United fans complain when she came to their club from Liverpool or whatever? And she's played for all over the place, in Notts County, Lyon as well. But you know, the abuse she got when she joined City was ridiculous, and they do see it. And it took her several months before I think she actually came out and publicly said anything about it.
What kind of world do we live in, Ray? With one of your comments, then there's now courses what you can do to prepare yourself to get abuse. These are elite athletes, and I'm talking men's game, female game. You have to do a course to prepare yourself to get abuse. That's horrendous in itself, isn't it? Like, what kind of statement is that?
We're not gonna train we're not gonna educate the people who are giving the abuse. We're gonna educate the people who are getting the abuse to be able to take it, get a thicker skin or whatever. Yeah, it's ludicrous.
There's a comment there. I've got to say, David, it wasn't the United players abusing Alex Greenwood, it was some of their fans. Let's get it right. Craig saying it's backwards, having to train people to deal with abuse and not dealing with abuse first. Absolutely. Something has to be done, because you can't, as a society, carry on like this, because it's not just in football, it's in sports, other sports, and it's in general life. Someone puts a comment up, and there's always a troll to come back with a smart Alec comment, which is basically worthless. The last question I'm going to ask briefly is about refereeing. Now, we had some comments recently. From a manager, Casey Stoney, who's complained about the refereeing, the standard refereeing, and fans have looked at it and had a go. And I've spoken to referees trying to do a little piece on that. So what do you guys, without getting yourself possibly into trouble, what do you think about the standard of refereeing, and is it going in the right direction?
I think I'll jump in because I do have a bad rep with some referees, but I think we have got some outstanding referees at our level. I think we've got some unbelievable referees. The problem is when they're unbelievable and outstanding, they get promoted, which is obviously that's what they want to do, and they move up, and then obviously we sort of start fast tracking a little bit. And I think, as I mentioned previously, the level of players and the quality's gone up. I think the level of coaching and the stand of managers and the overall level's gone up. And I think because there are not that many referees and officials around, they're always going to struggle, because you've got to understand, if there are 72 National League clubs, so you've got 30-odd games playing at the same time, each one requires a match official and 2 assistant officials as well. That is a lot of referees to cope with the demand.
If you've got 4 officials at a game, that's 144 officials.
It's a lot. And then you consider Championship and Super League and all the men's games that are going on Sunday mornings. They've got to rush from a Sunday game sometimes, then get to a women's game in the afternoon. As I said before, there are some unbelievably outstanding referees and officials, but there aren't enough because they're all sort of moving up. And then the ones that are at the top are obviously either retiring or stopping or don't want to ref a lower league game, so to speak. So again, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the referees' faults if they have a poor game, because they're allowed to have a poor game, just as players and clubs are allowed to have poor games. But I think there aren't enough officials to cope with the demand.
Yeah, and I think with like you said, Rob, with the quality of the game itself going up, we expect that from the referee. And you're going to get the odd week where, unfortunately, some of them probably aren't there. You've had 2 really good referees, and then because the third one's missed something, you're like, well, what's going on and all that. But I think it's something that is always going to happen. I think it's always going to happen. But for me, I'd far rather have a good young referee that's on their way up, rather than one that's not quite there and they're on their way down and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you both. It's one of them. You take them away, and we can't play. So we've got to respect what they do. I think sometimes they do get a lot of grief. Look, but central midfielder will turn up and have an absolute stinker because she's been ill the night before, and she'll get away with it. But a referee will turn up who's got other issues going on back at home potentially, and she'll have a stinker, and she gets absolutely crucified for it. So you've got to understand that these people, they're also people. They've got stuff going on back at home. They've got things that people are dealing with that we don't know about. So look, I'm the same as Rob. Some referees might be listening to this going, what is he on about? He's absolutely talking rubbish. And this is honestly my feelings, but it might not reflect, my feelings might not reflect it on Sunday when we're playing Forest.
Yeah, Rob did warn me that you might talk a bit of rubbish, Dan. So he did warn me beforehand.
I didn't say that. What are you trying to say that?
Guys, I've got to say massive thanks. I didn't think we'd do an hour, but we've done a little bit over. And thanks to everybody for joining in the comments. Final thing is just go do the round and ask you who you're playing on Sunday and how people, fans, can get involved in watching the game. Start with Dan.
So we've got Forest, a really tough game against Andy Cook's Forest. Tune in from Wolves TV from 5 to 2. Hopefully we'll put a great performance out and show everyone what we're about, and hopefully we'll get through. Fantastic. Dave?
Yeah, we're home against Gillingham. Sorry, I need to get the teeth out there. So we're at home against Gillingham tomorrow at 2 p.m. You can watch the game on a live stream. If you go on to crawleywasps.com, there's a link there which you can go to. And Rob?
Yeah, so we're a 1 o'clock kickoff. We're playing against Newcastle United from the same league. You can listen to our our game live. We've got Dave and Damo on the commentary, quite comedic, but they know their stuff, and it's a really good listen. I've had it on the side of the pitch once, just to see what it was like, and it's quality, to be fair. So yeah, have a listen, see what you think. You can listen to ours first, and then you can jump on one of the other guys and watch their game.
I think that's the idea, to either listen to one, then watch another, or watch one, then watch another. Because a few of them are staggered a little bit on Sunday. And I just want to let everybody know who is tuning into this. On Sunday at 5 p.m, we do have our Talkback show where people can get on and have a chat with the presenters. I'm hoping it's going to be more geared to FA Cup and hopefully Leicester going up from the Championship, winning their league, because we do have a special guest on. I can't say who it is yet, but we do have a special guest coming on Sunday for that. So if people want to just get on, either on video or audio, you can take your pick. If you got a face for radio like some of us, you might want to go on the audio if you're worried, or you can come on the video and chat with the guest. Right now, I don't know who the guests are. I'm still working on that, trying to get an ex-player on as a guest. So hopefully get some names. But finally, guys, I've got to say massive thanks. It is the first time we tried this, getting some managers on. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. And I think there is a waiting list of people who want to come on in the future. So hopefully you guys are trendsetters, and we can focus for a little bit longer on the national leagues before the explosion of cash in the Super League and everything else. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, great. Thank
you. Good luck, guys, tomorrow.
Yeah, and you, Dave. All the best.
Thank you.
All the best.
And you, Rob.
I'm going to be watching your game afterwards, I think. I hope you can